Hello and welcome to Metal Vice, a podcast where we talk about all things music.
Well, the things we care about.
That's right. I'm your host, Brian, joined with the other host,
Karen.
And for today, we're going to talk about how we each went to our own show on the same night.
In the same city.
In the same city. I went to Dream Theater at the Chicago Theater, and you went to Disturbed at the United Center.
Yes.
So getting into this real quick, let's just get through the ticket price shit that we always do by numbers. For the Disturbed show, the Dream Theater show, this was their 40th anniversary tour they were doing. Tickets for this were $49.50 with $20.79 in fees and $4.95 in tax.
That's a lot.
For fees, for sure. The ticket price, not that bad.
No, the ticket price is fine. I'm just saying.
And we had the high balcony seats for those as well.
Yeah.
I say we because we'll get into that story here in a little bit. You, though, went to Disturbed with 3 Days Grace and Seven Dust. I was going to say Shine Down, but that wasn't right. 3 Days Grace and Seven Dust is who you saw. That was part of their 25th anniversary tour for The Sickness.
Yes.
So 2 anniversary shows, one night, really cool. As we said, that was at United Center. You also were in the very top of the balconies.
The third section.
And tickets for this were $64.50 with $25.40 in fees and $7.96 in tax.
That's a lot too.
It is. For me, my fee rate was 42%. Yours was just under 40% at 39.38. We got your tickets though also for face value. We didn't buy secondary tickets. We happened to find them while they were still available for face value.
Yeah.
I don't know if the show sold out or not.
They called it a sold out show.
Okay.
Which it may have been technically from people buying multiple seats then not selling it.
Like scalpers.
Yeah. Are we getting into the show?
Yeah, get into the show a little bit, I guess.
Okay. Well, first, let's talk about how this all came about.
Yeah, so Dream Theater's a band I've been wanting to see for a long time. I like them. They're, progressive metal and all that. Around 2020 or so, Mike Portnoy, the drummer of Dream Theater, had like a little series on YouTube where he's going through his record collection, telling stories about all the records he has and whatnot.
And this was during like the COVID times when we were watching a lot of YouTube and
I was buying a lot of vinyl and like, ooh, this is a good way to learn about vinyl. He seems like he likes metal music, not knowing he was in Dream Theater, not knowing much about Dream Theater.
You didn't know him at that time?
No, and then he gets like, these are my albums now. And I was like, yeah, of course they're your albums. But no, it was like his band. And he's going in talking about the Dream Theater albums and how the artwork is done by the same studio who does a lot of the Pink Floyd albums and a lot of iconic album covers they did. They also did the Dream Theater album covers. And I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. I really want to see Dream Theater. So I started listening to him then and getting really into him then. I just loved it. And I've always wanted to see their show. And then they announced that they're doing a 40th anniversary tour with Mike coming back to play drums because he took a leave of absence there for a while. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. I want to go see this. I'm going to love it. You, maybe not.
Maybe not so much. But when you bought the tickets, I was going to go.
Yes.
And that's why we got the third floor balcony, I think. Well, one reason, also just to save some money. But I was like, let's go. I'll just kind of hang out and enjoy the night and like listen to the music or whatever. It's live music. I like live music. So let's go check it out sort of thing.
And it's definitely one of the shows I would rather just kick back and maybe like even take an edible or two and just like relax a little bit, and just enjoy the music and the atmosphere. So that was sort of another reason why we got the super high balcony seats. So we were super excited to go to that. I was anyway. And then Disturbed announced their 25th anniversary tour after that.
Yep.
Where they were going to be coming to Chicago and playing at the United Center, which that's a fucking large venue for
like
Disturbed.
Their largest headlining show that they've done.
Yeah, so. Especially at this point in their career. I think maybe earlier on, maybe they could have sold it a little more easily.
Yeah, maybe like in the 2005-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, maybe not because they were at Valier.
That's 2005. True. They were.
So it's pretty small, but I mean, all new metal bands or metal bands around that time were pretty small. So, but yeah. Anyways.
I was super, super excited to see that show too. They're from Chicago, so coming to Chicago, playing one of the largest venues in Chicago, outside of Soldier and maybe even Wrigley.
I bet United Center is pretty comparable to.
Yeah, Sox Stadium, I don't know what that is.
I don't know either. Yeah.
Soldier for sure is definitely like the largest, but like this is a pretty large venue. I was super excited to see them come home, play this venue at their home show. I figured it'd be something very special. Maybe they're going to do some special shit to it that you weren't going to get on the other shows. But we already had tickets for Dream Theater, and I was like, fuck, we can't go to this. So we went to Milwaukee instead. Like a good compromise there, I thought.
Yep.
But leading up to it, you're like, I really, really want to go to that Disturbed show. And like, well, if you want to go, well, there's still tickets available at face value. And even if they weren't, we probably could have found some cheaper $80
like the
or
resales.
so. Yeah. And pick those up for you, get a single ticket for you. I was still going to go see Dream Theater because I really wanted to see them. And I was like, you know what? I have some friends I can contact and say, hey, if you guys want to go, let me know. Free ticket for you and all that. And so we got you one. You went, and then I took a friend to Dream Theater.
Yeah. So buying me a ticket though was not as easy as we thought it was going to be. So there were still, especially in the 300 section. I would prefer to be on the floor because that's where we like to see shows. But those only had like the VIP left unless you were doing resale.
Resell, yep.
And I was like, I'm not paying $400+ for the show. I'm sorry.
And this was a split floor as well, right?
It is, yeah. So is this? So we already posted our Milwaukee show before even recording this, but I guess not technically. It's going up here.
It's going up like as we record this.
As we record this, but anyways, it's gonna be out before this gets posted. So it's the same floor as we had in Milwaukee, where it's the jetted out stage. Square around that is standing room only, and then there's a split floor with seats behind. I would not be in those seats behind. I wouldn't even try to buy those tickets, but to be in the standing room only GA section, that's where I'd prefer to be. But those tickets were very expensive.
Yeah.
Resale was even expensive, but so anyways, like I was like, whatever, I just want to be at the show, so give me like the 300 section. But even when we were trying to buy those seats, Ticketmaster was like requiring us to buy a minimum of 2.
Because you also like the aisle seat as well.
I do like aisle seat, yes.
And I didn't like it at first, but I'm starting to grow on the aisle seat. It's really kind of nice just to get in and out as you need.
Yeah.
Especially if you have to go to the bathroom or get a drink or something. Like it's just easier for me.
You don't have to worry about like waiting till a song's over, waiting till the set's over, or whatever. Like if you have to get out and go down or whatever. But spoiler, I didn't even leave the third floor that whole night, so it was fine. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, so I wanted an aisle seat. But every single seat that we was clicking on, like Ticketmaster was saying you had to buy 2
because they were like the 2 seats next to each other, and they don't. I think what they didn't want was you to split up a seat of 2 for like if you and I wanted to go and buy it. Like no, you can't do that. You have to buy 2 seats. But you ended up finding one like in the middle of a row or something.
Yeah, so I was
Was it in the middle? You had an aisle seat as well?
It was an aisle seat.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was directly straight back from the stage. So it's in section 309. So it's like the stairway
center stage.
Center stage. I thought that I was the last row, but we must have been looking at last row, and then this one is the one that we found. But anyways, so we did find me a seat. Anyways, that's the long story.
That's the long story of the seating.
But it was it was really annoying though. Like I got really frustrated. I was like, fine, I'm not even going to the show. Like I'm not buying 2 tickets for just me to go.
Right.
And
I've never bought a single ticket, I think, for a show
like
outside of a GA ticket. I'll buy like a single GA ticket for like Baroness or something that I want to go to and you don't. But otherwise, I think we always buy in pairs of 2.
Yeah. Like in GA, I think it's different, obviously.
For sure. Yep.
Because that's like kind of unlimited sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, not unlimited. They have their max, but like for you to buy. But I get the whole seating thing that they didn't want it to be split up, but it was really frustrating. That's like, I don't want 2 tickets. Like, I just need 1. So
this was a few weeks before it was going on too. I think wasn't it like a month or 2 before?
Maybe a month before. I can't remember exactly when we decided that I was going to go to Disturbed, but yeah, maybe like a month before.
Okay.
Or so.
I mean, I was just thinking like at that point, just fucking sell the seats. So like they have the analytics. They know like who's gonna like come in last minute and buy 2 seats or something like that.
Yeah. And the section was pretty full. So I mean, it wasn't like it was empty by any means. So.
How was the overall? You did send me a photo of like one entire row.
Yeah. So the pit area, the standing room only filled up very, very quickly. And it was, so when we were in Milwaukee, there was plenty of room. We could move close to the stage. We could stand back by the like square railing thing, whatever we wanted to do, we could pretty much stand, not on rail necessarily, but we could pretty much stand wherever we wanted to. And then at the Chicago show, though, it filled up pretty quickly and it looked pretty full. Now, granted, I wasn't down there, so I don't know how packed in it was, but there was only like the little sections by where you walk in that seemed open.
To like easily like get in and whatnot.
Yeah, and what I mean by open is like maybe like 5 people could stand there. So it seemed very, very full.
And then like the seats themselves were pretty full as well outside that one row you sent me.
Yeah, so it was during Seven Dust when I sent you the video where there were just rows and rows that were completely empty, which I understand not everybody gets there at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, like they
especially for the first opener.
Yeah, and it was a 6:30 show. Granted, it was a Saturday night, but still 6:30 show. Like, I understand you don't get there necessarily right away. But even so, that's the video I sent you. I was like, holy shit, there's like lots and lots of seats open. By Disturbed, though, there were still some sections that had like 4 or 6 seats together that were empty, especially in the 100 section that I could see. I didn't necessarily notice in the 300 section, and then the 200 I couldn't see most of them because they were underneath me, but I was still kind of surprised how many sections had seats open. It wasn't nearly as bad as Seven Dust, obviously, but they were calling it a sold out show.
But it filled up. I mean, technically, I guess it is.
Like, they sold the ticket.
It's not their fault the scalper didn't sell their tickets. Like, kind of awesome the scalper didn't sell their tickets.
We've been to shows at Soldier. I'm trying to think. I think it was the Rolling Stones show where there was just sections. Do you remember that?
You said that and I don't remember that.
I remember.
You've told me that before. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Like, that show also, we were by the wall. We were the last
We were the last row,
or the last row in the stadium. And I remember seeing those just rows and rows and rows of people, and it was in like the 100 section, and they were like big chunks too, so that made me really feel like it was scalpers.
I can't remember. Maybe, I mean, and those tickets weren't necessarily that cheap. It was 2019 or something, and I think it was the most expensive we paid for a ticket at the time,
at that point in time,
which was like 100, 120, maybe 150. Which were like, fuck, that's a lot, but it's the Rolling Stones, they could die. And our show did get postponed because Mick Jagger had to go have heart surgery. And I was just meaning that as a joke, but and then Charlie did. Yeah,
I was gonna say, and Charlie did die, not directly after our show. No, yeah, like within a year after our show. So
we did get to see him. That was awesome.
Yep. Anyways, so that was the crowd.
Yeah. Do we want to get into the sets at all? Like, do you want to talk about the set list, or since we already did that for the other show, do you want to skip over that and just talk about highlights? Yeah,
Disturbed, we don't need to. It was the same exact set on all 3 bands.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. Do you want me to go into the highlights now?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Yeah, just go into the highlights then.
Yeah, so we did talk about how, like, you wanted to go because you were like, oh, it's the Chicago show. Maybe there'll be some special things that happened. There were a few things that were different in a way, or not in a way, that were different. So at the end of the Seven Dust set, David comes out and sings part of their last song with them, or like on stage together or whatever. So after the song was over, David stays on stage. Well, like Seven Dust is doing like their, wrap up sort of thing, or like bowing or whatever. But David stays on stage and says, back in, I think it was in the 90s, I think 90s, somewhere here in Chicago, and I can't remember the venue that they meant, or that he mentioned.
Okay.
But Seven Dust was headlining or playing, and David actually crowd surfed to the stage and was handed the microphone to sing.
Okay, yeah.
And he was like, this is before Disturbed, like nobody knew who Disturbed was. Like obviously they were a band together, but
but like local band,
smaller
band.
Like locally people knew who they were, but they hadn't, like nobody knew who they were. Then during 3 Days Grace, they think Chicago is a wonderful place to make a home.
Yeah, the exact same thing they said in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I kind of knew they were going to do that.
I know. Yeah. But,
and as we talked about during the Milwaukee podcast, I was legit going for that whole line at first because I was like, yeah, we were looking for houses too. Like, what's it cost to move to Milwaukee?
We like Milwaukee too. It's a great place.
Yeah, so I was on board for that 100%. I was like, yeah, he's not wrong. Milwaukee's awesome. Until he said home, and even then, it's like, yeah, it'd be a great home, a great city to live in. And then they go into the song home, and like, oh, he got me. Yeah, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, so I did text you during that or whatever that they were gonna, but you didn't have. Well, you could get my text.
Yeah,
I
it's
couldn't
weird.
Get
I
your
could
text.
get your text messages, but I couldn't send stuff out.
Yeah.
Chicago theater is really funky for us for some reason.
I don't know why that is. Like, it's
weird because I look around and I see people like watching
know.
YouTube and shit, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why can't I send shit?
Do anything on our phones? Yeah.
It's really, really frustrating, honestly.
It is. And there's other places downtown that my phone just doesn't get a signal either. And I'm like, luckily, hopefully, no emergency happens where I need to use my phone in that spot. But anyways, so that was kind of the funny thing. And that's at every single show, 3 Days Grace, that's how they introduce Home is
something like that.
Something about the city being awesome. And
they've always got some sort of like little spiel for the next song they go into, which kind of gimmicky, kind of cheesy, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen so many 3 Days Grace shows, you wouldn't really know. We just happened to see a lot of them, so
yeah. And it's been a while, so I think that's why it caught me off guard that first time. But after that, it's like, all right, I know where we're going with all this other shit.
Some other things with Disturbed that was a little bit different. There was obviously a little bit more speaking parts. We talked about this during the Milwaukee show that there was very little speaking. It was kind of like, we got shit to do. Let's get through this sort of thing.
It did feel very rushed, almost like that crowd interaction, that crowd banter that David typically does quite a bit of. There was none of that really for the Milwaukee show. But you saying in Chicago, there's a lot more
there
of
was,
that.
Yeah, there was just a little bit more of like, we're home, I can't remember the venue that they play in Lansing, like JJ's or something. That's probably not right.
I think they did an event like the night before.
Yeah, they did a signing and a listening party.
Yeah, at that same venue. Because apparently that's where they always played. I can't remember what it was called either. We had something going on that night, so we couldn't make it.
Right.
I think I had book club. Yeah, that's what it was.
You had book club, and I didn't really want to drive down there by myself. Yeah. So,
otherwise, maybe we would have tried to.
Oh, yeah, I probably would have tried. But, yeah, so they kind of made a comment to, like, this is much larger than, playing in the little small venues where Disturbed started, sort of thing. And then also the first drum kit that they use is the original Sickness drum kit.
Same as Milwaukee.
Yep, from 2020 and 2021 tour. And then the
2021 tour.
Sorry, 2000 and 2001 tour. Sorry about that. So the original Sickness tour that they did. So that was still their first drum kit. The second drum kit in part 2 was a Blackhawks drum kit.
Part 2 being the second
set
2, the greatest hit set.
Hit set. Yeah. So, and then on Instagram, Disturbed did post, like, they were invited to backstage, back ice. What do you say? In the dressing room?
Oh, in the locker room.
In the locker room, yes. I was like, how do you say that?
Sports ballroom.
Sports ballroom where the players are. And they were gifted jerseys and stuff like that.
That's really cool.
Because they all went to the Blackhawks game. Well, no, Disturbed wouldn't have went to Blackhawks game because they would have been at the signing. It must have been before the show or something.
Yeah, probably before the show.
3 Days Grace went to the Blackhawks game.
Okay.
Yeah, so... Okay. But yeah, it was probably before the show because there's no way that they could be at the signing and unless it was prior to the Blackhawks.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the schedule was.
I don't know.
In any case, they got jerseys.
Yeah, they got jerseys with their names on them.
That's actually really cool.
It is cool. Yeah. So yeah, that was a little bit different. I think that's the main.
But all the set lists were basically the same.
The set lists were exactly the same. Seven Dust played 6 songs the same 6 songs, and then 3 Days Grace played the same songs, and Disturbed did the exact same set through the night.
So this is always sort of I don't want to say contentious argument against us or whatnot, but you even said this, I think, in Milwaukee of, well, there's not going to be any pyro at Chicago. And I was like, there 100% will be pyro. Yeah. Was there pyro? There
was. However, I think there was more in Milwaukee.
Okay.
I honestly do. But then again, we were near the stage in Milwaukee.
We were near the stage, yes.
And here I didn't even sit in my seat. I sat in my seat during Seven Dust. And then United Center has like some standing room only for the Blackhawks games.
Behind that 300 section.
Behind the 300 section. So I just stood there and kind of stood like backwards back in the stairwell. So I could see straight down to the stage. So, but yeah, I think there was more in Milwaukee, but then again,
it could be your angle that you were at and whatnot.
Yeah, and also like in Milwaukee, we could feel the pyro, and here, like obviously I couldn't because I was so far away.
But they did have pyro, so.
They did have pyro, yes. I don't remember the big fireballs that they had in Milwaukee. That's the part that I don't remember, but they did have it on their art or on the scaffolding stuff that they had.
Yeah, I guess I can't remember that. I think there were a couple fireballs, but they were always behind that scaffolding thing in that like little contained area.
Yeah, and that's why maybe my angle just wasn't seeing that too. And I mean the piano had fire during Sound of Silence and stuff like normal. So the other thing that was fun with Disturbed, I think it was the last 4 songs of The Sickness. Fuzz comes out and plays bass with them. So, and Fuzz
the original bassist
was the original bassist for the Sickness and Believe album, and then due to personal differences, left the band. More than likely, probably with David, but that's not confirmed.
No, I don't know anything about that. I don't even know I didn't even know he was the original bassist. Yeah.
So in the little montage video thing that they do during the intermission, he's in those videos, some of those videos.
So we have a DVD that we listened to, or we've seen a couple of times. Is he in the DVD, or that's
no? So he's in the DVD. It's not John.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Because they were talking about like his fascination with like leather pants or something like that.
I don't remember that from the DVD.
That's like the only part I remember for some reason.
That's so watching that DVD.
And like Dan loves to lift weights and eat ice cream or something like that.
Oh, really?
That's like those are the 2 things for some reason I remember.
We need to rewatch that because I don't remember either of those things. But I do remember watching the DVD, and that's when I learned that they had a different bassist.
Okay.
Because I didn't see Disturbed until 2005 when he was out of the band already. So, I didn't know anybody besides John being the bassist. So, but yeah. That was really cool. I was excited to see Fuzz come out. Obviously, it would be like having Jason Newsted.
Yeah, come back and play for a little bit or something.
Cliff's hologram come play. Or
no, let's not do that. But Jason coming back.
Yeah,
for
Jason coming back would be fun. Which you wanted for the 40th. You were like, I was hoping.
I was hoping he'd come out for the 40th, or even like Dave coming out for the 40th or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we buried the hatchet. I don't know if it has been buried or not, but yeah, I don't know. That would have been fun. But this was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. That's all I remember being different. And then they charged tax on the merch. That was the only other thing. We bought Disturbed merch in Milwaukee, but then I got a 3 Days Grace shirt here, and I should have bought it in Milwaukee because they didn't charge tax in Milwaukee.
And no special poster for the Chicago show.
No special anything for the Chicago. We were kind of hoping for it. Either a special shirt or a special poster or something, but
unless it's sold out or something, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. I did go to the 3rd floor merch.
Okay.
Mainly because the merch in the first section was really, really long.
I was going to ask, how was that? I've heard people say on Reddit, especially with like Metallica at Soldier last year, how we went. I went early to get the posters and the shirts, and didn't want to fuck with it during the show. And I heard people say, hey, go to the 400 section, the 300 section. They have merch up there, and nobody's up there. Because everybody stops at that first one right inside the door. Was it the same way then?
So the line was a lot shorter. They repurposed a Bulls merch.
Okay, yeah, section. Like a little booth thing.
There was actually like the Disturbed shirts were just hung up in front of Bulls shirts, and you could still see all the Bulls shirts. Like on the sides, you could still see them. Yeah. Obviously, I don't think you could buy them, but whatever, they were there. The line was shorter, but they didn't have everything.
I see. That's the other thing.
They had the main Disturbed tour shirts. They had the stuff out on a table. So I think that was like the hat, the poster.
Okay.
Maybe a koozie.
But they had the poster up there as well. Okay.
Yeah. For 3 Days Grace, I remember a jersey and then the 3 Days Grace shirt that we got that I don't remember which one it was. I honestly don't remember a 7 Dust shirt, but there's probably one.
So when we were in Milwaukee, I think one of the times I went up to get a beer, I walked by one of the lines just to check out to see what they had. And they had 7 Dust stuff. And I think somebody said something about 3 Days Grace. And I thought I heard somebody say, 3 Days Grace merch is down at the other merch stand, not this merch stand.
Okay. Yeah, so it seems like it may have been split up as well, where they had just like one shirt and then 2 3 Days Grace, and then they had the tour shirts and the long sleeve shirt of the Disturbed. I don't remember the sweaters or any of the non-tour merch for Disturbed there. Okay. But it was a lot smaller than what we saw in Milwaukee, but I bet you the 100 section probably had, or like the main
probably
floor
had a little bit more, had
the main. I get really uncomfortable when I'm by myself. I think you know that, but so I just kind of did what I know what to do, and I'm like, let me just go to the 300 section. Let me, figure, like just get merch up there. So I didn't really mingle down below. I don't mind crowds at concerts. I don't like the cattle herding through the aisleways sort of thing.
I enjoy that, and I like trying to weave my way in and out of the crowd.
Oh, it drives me nuts.
It's fun for me.
People just don't pay attention. That's what drives me
They
nuts.
don't. Yeah.
Like, just pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah, that's a little frustrating. It's more frustrating for me when I'm with like you, and I'm trying to weave in and out and have you tag along, and then you're getting frustrated. If it's just me, I was like, I don't give a shit. I'll walk my own pace. People don't pay attention. I'm paying attention. Blah blah blah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Different little tangent there.
But yeah, I mean, it was a good night at the United Center. But I do have to say, for the size of venue, they didn't do anything different with the setup. There was no screens. There was no projection. Like sometimes at those larger shows, they have like a screen or like two screens on the side or something where they'll have a projection of what's going on stage. They didn't have any of that. And I do have to say that is a very big miss, because for like those of us up in the 300 section, you can't see shit on the stage.
They didn't have it also for Milwaukee, and the same thing, even though it's a little smaller, you're still not going to see that great straight back.
Those really far back, like 200 section, I bet would be that way. Yeah. Like for the 300 section, maybe sit more like on the edge of the stage, like you are on the side.
Like a stage right, stage left, not straight back.
Not straight back, because you're just so far back and you can't see anything. Yeah. Where I think like some things that they do is like they bring David out during the first song in the Hannibal Lecter straight jacket thing. You could see that he was being wheeled out there, but you couldn't see anything.
You can make out the detail and all that.
Yeah, and then same with the Meaning to Life. The electric chair part. Like, I mean, the whole thing is like when we were on the floor, you could see it, but he like smiles and like flips off the crowd and everything, and like you can't.
Yeah.
You can't see any of that shit.
Yeah.
So
some sort of TV projector or something. Not TV.
I do think that one of the ladies had the little. What are those things?
The opera glasses?
Yeah, like the opera glasses. And I was like, oh, that would have been fun. I could have brought our monocle and I could have.
Yeah, that could have been cool.
No, but anyways, it was a good show. And I'm glad that I went to the show in Chicago. I'm glad I went even if I went by myself, I think it was fun.
Good. I'm glad you went. Like I said, I really wanted to go to that show. But Dream Theater was in town and I really wanted to see that show.
I know.
So once you backed out, once you decided to go to this show, we got you a ticket. I now had an extra ticket, and I had a few friends that I could invite, and I reached out to one of them, my buddy Jim, who we went to. He's the one who introduced me to Grateful Dead and Dead and Company, and whenever he goes to one of those shows, he like invites me and brings me along, and any kind of music like that, he'll sort of like, hey, you want to go check this out? I've got an extra ticket. So I'm like, yeah, let's go check this out. Like Goose last year, I went to go see with him.
And we went to like a bar show with some of that type of music. Yeah.
Which is not something you're super into. So I'm glad that like I can go to these things with him. If not, I'm probably go by myself, honestly. But so I think it was when we were at the Sphere in Vegas last year for Grateful Dead that he told me, he's like, I'd like to go see a metal show. Like if you have a metal show coming up, let me know. I'd like to go see it. I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, this is an experience I've never had, and I'd like to at least try it and see what it's like.
I should take him to my kind of metal show.
So that was my thought going into that. Once he said that, it's like, all right, I need to find the right metal show to ease you into this and not just go straight for like Cradle of Filth or Whitechapel, it's got to be something more attainable for him that he can grasp onto and like, and then we can grow from there. So that was my thought. And what came to mind for me were a handful of bands. Dream Theater was definitely one of them. Baroness is another one I think he'd really dig. Mastodon might be a little heavier for him, but I do think he wouldn't like it.
I think he would like Mastodon. There's enough instrumental parts and the whole show aspect behind behind Mastodon and stuff. Yeah. And
then Opeth, I think he would really like Opeth as well. Maybe not really like it, but I think he would appreciate that and grasp onto it a little easier than, like I said, Cradle of Filth.
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. Is it's not necessarily like liking it a lot. It's a good transition into from the music that he gravitates to the most, transitioning into a different genre.
Right. And then like, all right, I like this. What's more like this that I can grow from here in the same genre, and so on and so forth. Because I mean, that's how we went through metal, right? We found our metal band. Yours was Disturbed. Mine was Metallica. And it's like, I like this. what's like this in this same area, the same space, and then slowly grow out from there.
Yep.
So that was the thought. Like I said, this was at the Chicago Theater, and whenever we go there, we usually end up just getting Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, because it's right on the
it's
corner.
right there. Half a block north of that is this like State Street, some kind of place.
Yeah, I think it's like State Street Bar or something.
Is that what it's
like
called?
That. Yeah, like Bar and Grill
Okay.
or something. Yeah.
It's a little fancier, but there were a lot of
It's a
people in
hotel
there.
restaurant
It
type
is.
thing, yeah.
But it does come off a little fancier.
Oh,
when
yeah,
you're
yeah.
there.
No, and I guess in my mind, the hotel restaurants do have like not an upscale theme, but like because you normally
It's
have
not pub
business.
grub.
Yeah, exactly. Because you normally have like businessmen and stuff coming, so they kind of cater more to that, especially downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean,
And we met a lot of people in there that were going to the Dream Theater show and talked to him a little bit and whatnot. That was really fun. But we're sitting down there I'm talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, I looked at the set list. I'm super intrigued by this. And I was like, I didn't do that. He told me, like, yeah, they've got it done like these acts. Like, it starts with Act 1, Scene 1, Act 2, Scene 2, stuff like that. And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, I know. Those are songs from an album. It's not split up like acts.
oh, so he thought it was like a play or something.
Yeah. Well, not like a play.
Not like a play, but done like a play.
Very
Sorry.
structured, yeah. And I guess it is act. They do take an intermission during their set. So the first half or Act 1 is sort of like set 1. And then Act 2 is like your second set. And they come out for a little brief encore as well. Brief in quotes. Because all of their songs are fucking long.
Yeah.
I think they average like 8 minutes long each.
And it was only Dream Theater playing. Is that right?
It was
there
only
was
Dream
no
Theater, yep.
Opener or anything?
Only Dream Theater. So we sat down there, we're talking about it a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I went super deep on this. I've looked up all the band members. I went into their history.
We don't even do that.
No, I don't. He's like, they're all Berkeley, music college, the Berkeley School of Music graduates and whatnot. And I was telling him the story about Mike's.
Sorry, our cats.
And I was telling him how I got like into Dream Theater through Mike's YouTube shows about the record collection and whatnot. And Jim's like, oh yeah, his dad was a DJ. And I was like, I didn't fucking know that. I didn't go down this rabbit hole.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if we researched all the bands that we listen to that way?
Yeah, like that's the type of person he is, though.
Yeah,
he loves to go down these rabbit holes. He loves to know who the people are, who the musicians are, which I get. Like, there's a lot of people in metal who do that. We don't always do that with all the bands. There's a handful of bands we do it, but not that many.
Yeah, I guess some bands, like, we do know a little bit of history, but normally I just say, oh, that sounds like a metal band. Oh, that looks like a metal band.
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah, anyway, we sat there, hung out for a little bit, had a couple drinks, and went into the show. Whatever, found our seats and just sort of hung out there. Show started right on time, and he even said, like, it looks like it based on set lists and based on online. They start right on time at 7:30, and sure enough, they did right on time. Play a little bit of classical music for like the intro, and then go straight into their music. I fucking loved it from the start. It was so good. The stage setup was very minimal. Like you have the riser for the drum kit, and then you have two risers on the sides, one for the keyboard, one that was just sort of blank that people would come up and play every now and then. But then you just have your bass, your guitar, and your singer that comes out. And those risers had the LED screens on them that would present like the show or the visuals. Same with behind the band was another like LED screen and whatnot. So everything tied really, really well together. I don't know if I want to go into the set list necessarily since we didn't for Disturbed. But one thing I did do with the set list is I added it to our playlist. Okay. So like our playlist, the rules for the playlist we have
are very
on Spotify.
Fluid
they are
for however Brian wants to do it.
More or less. It was originally every show we go to see, we'll add that set list onto a set list, a playlist, and just make that public, and we'll listen to it ourselves all the time. And it will be all the bands we see. And if we see a band twice and they play the same set list twice, we don't add it twice. Only net new songs if we see a band more than once. So your Disturbed show, we didn't add anything because it was identical. Then it sort of evolved into this, all right, we're going to do that same thing, but if we don't like the band, we won't put that band on there. Like if we didn't like the set, we didn't like their band. And the first year, I think we had like Jairus Johnson, I want to say.
Yeah, there was Jairus Johnson and 0936. They were back-to-back nights.
Yeah, and we didn't like those sets, so we didn't put them on. Like, oh, we don't like this. We're not going to do it. The next year or the next time or whatnot, we're like, fuck it, we're just gonna put everything on there unless it's truly a bad set. But it's gonna
or
be
if
one,
they don't have a set list,
or if they don't
posted.
have,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be stuff that just you and I go to. So there's stuff where I went to a show alone, like Baroness or Tech Nine and Hollywood Undead, that you didn't go to. There was stuff last year that you went to that I didn't go to, so we didn't add any of those solo shows onto the set list. And I was like a little upset last year because that Ministry show was so good.
Oh, yeah.
And I really wanted to add that. It's like, well, we didn't both go to it, so we're not. This year, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to put it on there. One of us went, we're going to put it on there and listen to it.
Okay.
The set was so good. I loved it so much. I was going in, so a lot of Dream Theater's albums are definitely like concept albums where the whole album just flows together. And I wasn't sure how that would feel in a concert. They do have a few live albums, and I've listened to them, and it's fine. It's just normal music. But I don't like it as much as just the concept album. This one, the set list they had, I felt flowed very, very well together. This Metropolis is how they started at Metropolis Part 1. Then from that same album, Act 1, Scene 2, Part 1, Overture 1928. And the third song is Act 1, Scene 2, Part 2, Strange Deja Vu, all from that album. And I love that album so much because it flows so well together. And they ended in the encore with Act 2, Scene 6, Act 2, Scene 8 from that same album. So they kind of like bookend it with that album. And I loved that so much. It flowed so very well. And then there was a part here for like Octavarium where this is like a 20 fucking minute long song. And there's a part of the beginning where they're just out there playing and the visuals are like this light blue sort of sea waves going on. I like zoned out so fucking hard so quick. Because there was a time we went to an art gallery downtown. Your friend has a cousin that had like art in there or something. So we went to go look at it.
That, yeah.
Super fucking over expensive, like 15 grand for art, right?
Yeah.
We found one piece that was that sort of a wavy wood carving thing that was like colored blue.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of like ocean waves. And I just sat there and stared at that thing for, it felt like half an hour, but I
remember dreaming, being like, oh, if we had money and if we had a place to put that would be really cool.
Now we'd get all our posters framed.
Exactly. I was like, now we could potentially have money if we stopped going to concerts.
But this beginning of Octavarium reminded me of that painting, and just I zoned out so hard during that. And my friend Jim, he was really into it as well. He seemed to love the set. He talked in the middle of the intermission. We were talking a little bit, and he's like, "This is fucking awesome. I love this. I'm on board. This is so fucking cool. Thanks for bringing me." One thing though, if this was a Dead show, you'd smell so much weed. And I don't smell any of this, and I feel like it'd fit very well in there. I was like, I smell some, but I also agree you'd smell a lot more at Dead.
I wonder if edibles would have been more of a thing.
Maybe.
Especially for a Chicago theater than taking like a vape pen or taking a joint or something.
He did bring his vape pen, and we shared that a little bit. The couple next to us had a pen or something they were smoking from as well. So it was definitely there, but not as bad. I didn't take any edibles this time. I really feel like it would have flowed really well with that. I don't do that outside of like Dead shows because I don't know, it really fucked with me, that Mastodon Opeth show.
But this one you had seats, so it might have been a little bit better, just to kind of hang back and watch.
And I have been doing it a lot more since then, so I kind of know how it doesn't affect my body as much as it did that time.
Yeah, exactly.
But like those were great songs. Midnight Messiah, they played that. I loved hearing that song live for the first time for me because it's off their new album. I don't know. This was so fucking cool. I had such a blast, and I can't wait to see these guys again. And hopefully, Disturbed's not in town again, and you can come.
Yeah.
I do think you might enjoy it. There's a lot more music or instrumental aspects to it, not as much singing. Like, there's definitely singing, right? But there's definitely moments where you have just a long stretch of technical instruments playing, and that's not necessarily your forte.
It's not necessarily my forte, but if it's in a theater type setting, I think I would be okay where you could just sit down and listen to it. I get really bored when it's like instrumental and you're just standing there and nothing's happening, and it's like, come on.
So you're fine with like the keening then, because there's not just instrumental, there's singing going on.
No.
Whatever. I will say one thing about seeing them at this venue. I was not bored or thinking I needed to it needed to be better at it. Let me start over. One thing I will say about seeing Dream Theater at this venue is we just saw Apocalyptica a few weeks before at a venue similar to this, a lot smaller but similar. And we saw Rock Orchestra here literally like the week before.
Yep.
I even ran into like one of the concession people who was telling me about it. She's like, yeah, it was awesome. They were here. They were so good. And like, hey, I was here too. She's like, that's so cool because I got to go down for the last 2 songs.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like that was my break time. So I got to go down and experience that and like chat up that a bit. But during those 2 shows, I was like, this was great. I just feel like it would have been better at like the Radius or something where you could have been up and dancing around and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely for those 2 shows, I thought the same thing, like to be able to move around and not be at a seat.
But this one, I was completely comfortable just sitting down and enjoying the music and hearing the music live. I don't know why that is. It's just a different style of music, maybe?
Yeah, just different, probably. I don't really know Dream Theater music that well.
Different cadence and just sort of a different atmosphere overall. Yeah. I do wish I had taken a few edibles to like just even zone out a little bit more and just, enjoy the music a little bit more potentially.
I love how you say a few edibles. One's
edible. Not doing a whole lot for me no more. So maybe 1.5. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, in any case, I'm super glad I was able to make this show. And like I said, I can't wait to see them again. And hopefully they come around soonish and definitely going to check it out when they can.
Yep.
Or when they do, not when they can.
When they can.
When they do, I will try to make it if I can.
Yes. Yeah. I did thank Jim for taking my spot so I could get disturbed. So.
Yeah. Ours was a sold out show too. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, overall, I had fun. Sounds like you had a blast as well.
You had a fun?
I had a fun. I had a fun, one of them.
Just one fun.
Yeah, just one. And we did talk about this during like the 420 FOMO show we did.
Yeah.
About like, shit gets announced at different times and you can't do everything. So what do you do type thing.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just sort of like, fuck it. You're at least at a show. You're not necessarily at the one at the end of the night that you would have rather been at, but you're still at a show that's, you wanted to go to, obviously. So
yeah, I do think though, if I would have went to Dream Theater, I think I would have maybe been in a little attitude or a little mood.
Upset that you weren't at Disturbed.
Yeah, like that I wasn't at Disturbed sort of thing. So I'm glad I went to Disturbed. I think maybe we both need to start making those decisions a little bit when we have duplicate concerts here on the same night.
Yeah,
depending on what it is. So.
Yeah, and to be fair, like if it was Metallica in town, that same night, that would have been like, fuck it, let's go to Metallica. We already bought tickets, whatever. We'll find something to do with these.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see that as well.
Like we can't do it often to buy tickets and then be like, oh, let's just go to this other show because it was announced announced.
Then we're gonna try to like resell them and at least not like make a profit, but at least cover our costs, right? But that's not a guarantee either. So
yeah, but this is definitely the FOMO show aspect of we generally buy whatever comes first or whatever's announced first.
We've been doing better this year. We haven't bought stuff right when it goes on sale.
Yeah, we hold off a little bit.
Mainly because of this reason, but also just try it out and see what it's like. Like, don't get that FOMO thing. Yeah. Because, sometimes there is stuff that's announced the same day. So
yeah, there's only been so far like one thing that's sold out that we've.
I think there's been a couple that have sold out that we couldn't have gone to, but not that much. And there's still a lot more coming up this year that we haven't bought for that we want to go to. So we'll see if that sells out or not. Ghost, for instance, is one of them. We're still debating on going to that or not. The floor for that did sell out. Yeah. And they're like insanely expensive to the point of like, even at face value, I was like, I'm not fucking paying that for Ghost on the floor.
Oh, we need to do a whole episode on the extremity of ticket prices now. But some of these bands, like, it's just not worth the price.
Yeah. But in any case, this night, went to 2 shows one night. We both had a blast. It was, just live music all around. It was so much fun. Got to go with a friend and experience that with a friend again. That was super fucking fun.
I got to be by myself for 6 hours.
But yeah, like it's live music. It's so much fun. So just get out there, find something, big, small, whatever. Just go check out some live music and we'll hopefully catch you at the next show.
Yep. Bye.